The Syrian Arab Army advances in al-Khalidiyya after controlling the mosque of Khalid ibn al-Walid in Homs. The Minister of Information says that the criminals who committed the massacre of al-Assal and their supporters will pay a very high price. The victims of the clashes of the last 2 days between the Muslim Brothers and the Egyptian security forces rise to 80 dead and nearly 800 wounded. Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Daniel Nizam. The Syrian Arab Army made important achievements in al-Khalidiyya quarter in Homs, where the terrorists who carried out sabotage activities in the mosque of Khalid ibn al-Walid were fully defeated. The army controlled the area around the mosque and defused many explosive devices and killed the terrorists who planted them in the buildings nearby. On the other hand, 40 people of those who were deceived and involved in the current events surrendered themselves and their weapons to the security forces. Their situations were resolved and they were released after pledging not to carry weapons or to carry out activities against the security of our homeland. In the Damascus countryside, the heroes of the Syrian Arab Army continue to advance in Al-Qaboon after killing several terrorists, some of them non-Syrians. Units of the army carried out qualitative operations in this quarter where several tunnels were uncovered, one of them 300 meters long. These tunnels were used to smuggle weapons. In Latakia countryside, the Syrian Arab Army foiled a terrorist attempt to infiltrate into the village of Kafraya and other villages nearby. The terrorists were killed and their equipment destroyed. The army set up ambushes in the areas where the terrorists were expected to infiltrate. The terrorists fired mortar shells and locally made missiles against these mountainous places. The Syrian Arab Army targeted hideouts for the terrorists of the Jabhat al-Nusra in several villages in the northern countryside of Latakia, killing and wounding many terrorists and destroying their equipment. The dead terrorists included Egyptian, Jordanian, Saudi, Yemeni, Turkish, Chechenian and Bosnian snipers. In an interview with the Syrian TV, the Minister of Information, Abran al-Zabi, asserted that the crime of those terrorists who committed the massacre of al-Assal and the countries which support them with money and weapons will never pass without retaliation. They will pay a very high price. There were many victims of this terrorist crime, including military and civilian people who realized very well that they were sacrificing their lives for the sake of their homeland. The Austrian Foreign Minister Michael Spendliger renewed his criticism of Britain and France because they called for lifting the embargo on arming the Syrian opposition. In an interview with an Austrian paper, he expressed his disappointment with the attitude of his French and British counterparts and their sudden change of the way the European Union dealt with international crisis. He asserted that he warned many times that the weapons sent to Syria could fall into the hands of terrorist gangs linked to al-Qaeda. The German Foreign Minister told the same paper that Germany's attitude was similar to the attitude of Austria concerning the crisis in Syria. Germany and Austria rejected any military intervention and stressed the necessity of reaching a political solution to this crisis. The events in Egypt are increasing daily due to the Muslim Brotherhood acts and their insistence on their stand. 80 citizens were killed and more than 800 were wounded due to the clashes which erupted between the Muslim Brotherhood with the security forces in Cairo, Alexandria and the surrounding of Rabi' al-Adawiyya. Heavy clashes erupted also today, including damaging cars and shooting gunfire between a number of the Muslim Brotherhood and civilians in several areas in Cairo and Port Said. In Sina, unknown armed men shot fire at the security forces in the area without any casualty. Meanwhile, a statement issued by the field army to sway city citizens to enhance the national unity and report at once any terrorist acts targeting the public facilities or the industrial companies. On the other hand, the Egyptian El Dastur newspaper published in an article the terrorists' plan, which started to be implemented by the Muslim Brotherhood in accordance to the recommendations agreed upon in the conference held in Istanbul 2 weeks earlier, where they started their terrorist acts in spreading chaos using fugitives who have been released by Morsi. The paper considered the greatest danger coming from transforming Rabia al-Adawiya area to a terrorist den, as this area is difficult to be entered due to the media investigation cameras spreading in that area, which are supporting those criminals. In Tunisia, the protests escalated against the assassination of the opposition politician Mohamed Brahimi last Thursday. The opposition continued to organize meetings and demonstrations calling for the dismissal of the Tunisian government. The police used tear gas yesterday to disperse large demonstrations in the town of Sidi Bouzid, where Ibrahimi was born. The new demonstrations followed after the gathering of hundreds of people before the Foundation Council to call for its dismissal as well. In Iraq, the armed forces foiled a plot by the terrorist organization of al-Qaeda to control the governorate of Ninawa in order to turn it into a haven of depth for the terrorist gangs in Syria. An Iraqi intelligence source said that the painful blows dealt by the Syrian army to the gangs of al-Qaeda, al-Nusra Front and the so-called Islamic State of Iraq and Syria forced al-Qaeda to set up a plot to control the governorate of Ninawa in order to use it to support the terrorist gangs in Syria with weapons and mercenaries. The operations of the Iraqi army and security forces led to the capture of hideouts and weapons stores, in addition to the detention of 46 terrorists. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching us. For more details about Syria and the region, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. After the break, it's over to Vani. God bless you all, and long live Syria.
Good afternoon. Minister of Electricity Engineer Imad Khamis stressed that the ministry managed with great efforts to secure power supplies despite the situation and the repeated attacks against the electric grid. The minister pointed out to the basic role carried out by all the citizens to help supplying the electric grid, especially that the power system covers all the Syrian governorates. He added that the government is supplying the electricity almost for free, hoping that the private sector and the local society will play an important role in running, maintaining and issuing bills. The semi-annual report for the Industrial Investment Directorate showed that the number of craft facilities that have been carried out this year has reached 69, with a cost of 88 million Syrian pounds. The facilities include the engineering, chemical and food industries. The number of the industrial facilities that were built according to the law number 21 amounted to 35, with a cost that reached 700 million Syrian pounds. Meanwhile, 212 industrial facilities were licensed with a cost that amounts to 22 million Syrian pounds. Minister of Economy intensifies efforts to boost medium and small enterprises, particularly in Tartus and Latakia. The Ministry of Economy asserted that a specialized ministerial committee will be sent to the coastal areas to follow up these enterprises, especially those related to the agricultural products. The Minister of Economy set Al-Fitr Eid as a deadline to receive tangible results of these enterprises. The branch manager of the Cooperative Agricultural Bank in Selhab said that the bank completed paying 400 million Syrian pounds as the first phase of payment for the marketed wheat from the farmers to the centers of the General Establishment of Trading and Manufacturing Grains in Hama. He pointed out that the bank is going to pay 200 million Syrian pounds during the second phase, while the prices of the marketed wheat to the grain centers have been paid during the season, regardless of the farmers' debts. After weeks of intensive talks, the EU and China resolved their dispute over the solar panels. EU Trade Commissioner reached an agreement with his Chinese counterpart on a minimum price for China's solar panel exports. Chinese solar panel production quadrupled between 2009 and 2011 to more than the entire global demand, and the Commission accused China of dumping its solar panels at below the cost of production in Europe. And now over to the exchange rates of some currencies according to the bulletin of the Central Bank of Syria. And with this we conclude our news. Thank you for watching and goodbye.